There is a loneliness men carry, even in love. It is not the loneliness of absence, not the loneliness of being without a partner, without a body close at night. It is something quieter, something hidden, a silence that lingers, even when two hands are holding one another. There is a curve most people never see. It bends beneath the surface of affection, beneath the rituals of companionship, beneath the warmth of being chosen. That curve leads into the solitary chamber of a man's soul, a chamber no embrace can completely reach. Why? Because love does not erase solitude. Love does not dissolve the secret places where a man keeps his unspoken fears, his unnamed griefs, his trembling doubts. Even in the gentlest touch, even in the most devoted gaze, there remains a distance between what he reveals and what he carries in silence. The rain outside is steady tonight. It falls the way time falls, drop by drop, endlessly, without pause. And as I sit by the fire, I think of the men I have known. Men who loved deeply, men who gave themselves fully, men who would have sacrificed their lives for the women beside them. And yet, when the room grew quiet, when the laughter faded, when night crept in, I could see it. The loneliness behind their eyes. The loneliness that no vow, no touch, no word could banish. It is not a flaw. It is not a failure. It is the shape of the soul itself. Every man, no matter how surrounded, no matter how adored, is born into a silence that belongs only to him. Sometimes he tries to explain it, but words stumble. How do you describe the emptiness that breathes beside you, even when another body warms your bed? How do you confess that the echo in your chest does not fade with love, but hums all the louder because of it? A woman may misunderstand this silence. She may think it is distance, indifference, withdrawal. But it is none of these. It is the simple truth that love cannot replace the conversation a man must have with his own soul. And often, he does not know how to begin that conversation. So he smiles. He laughs. He carries his loneliness the way some men carry a scar beneath their clothing. Hidden, invisible, but never absent. There is a peculiar sadness in this, but also a strange beauty. For that loneliness shapes him. It sharpens his tenderness. It makes him cherish presence because he knows absence. It makes him hold her closer, not because he is free of solitude, but because he knows he never will be. The fire crackles. The rain deepens. And I return again to the thought. Men carry loneliness even in love, because part of them belongs to the silence of the world itself. It is older than romance, older than desire. It is the solitude of being born into a body, of walking through years, of feeling the gravity of mortality. No woman can lift this weight from him. No devotion can erase it. And yet, paradoxically, it is this very weight that makes his love real. Because he does not love to escape loneliness. He loves while carrying it. He loves while trembling beneath it. He loves with the knowledge that even in love, he is still alone. And there is no tragedy in that. There is only truth. There is a silence most people fear. It arrives not when love is absent, but when it is present. When two people sit together, and yet, a shadow lingers between them. The man feels it most of all. He carries it quietly, because he believes it cannot be spoken. And perhaps he is right. For how do you explain to the one you love that there are places inside you she can never enter? It is not rejection. It is not resistance. It is simply the nature of the soul. Every man has landscapes within him, deserts, forests, oceans, that no companion can fully cross. And sometimes, in the middle of love, he hears the wind across those landscapes. He feels the ache of being alone, even as another hand rests in his. The rain outside reminds me of this. It falls evenly, endlessly, on the roof above. Each drop is singular. Each drop touches the earth alone. And yet together, they form the sound we call rain. So it is with men in love. They are touched, they are held, they are joined. But within them, they remain singular drops, never fully merging, never fully dissolved. And there is sorrow in this, yes. But there is also freedom. For in the loneliness men carry, even while they are loved, lies the essence of their humanity. It is the place where they face themselves without disguise, where they see the wounds they have never named, where they encounter the silence of their fathers, the shadows of their past, the weight of their own mortality. A woman may believe she has failed him when she senses this distance. She may think her love is not enough, that she is not enough. But this is not the truth. The truth is that no one is enough, because what he seeks in that silence is not another, but himself. There is a curve most people never see. It is the curve where love does not erase loneliness, but deepens it. Where intimacy does not end solitude, but exposes it more clearly. For when he is alone, he can pretend the ache is simply absence. But when he is loved, he realizes the ache belongs to him, and to him alone. I have watched men in their youth run from this. They drown it in noise, in work, in conquest, in the endless distraction of desire. But the silence waits. And as years gather, as time bends the body and slows the breath, that silence grows louder. It is in the quiet moments, after love has been made, after words have been spoken, after the lights go dark, that he feels it most. The loneliness that no intimacy can erase. The loneliness that hums at the root of being alive. But listen closely. This loneliness is not his enemy. It is not a punishment, not a defect. It is the doorway through which he will return to himself. It is the fire in which false identities burn away. It is the ocean that washes him clean of illusions. And yet, it hurts. It hurts because he longs to be fully seen, fully known, fully touched, but there is always a remainder. Always a shadow he cannot share. Always a silence that resists translation. This is why men sometimes appear withdrawn in love. Not because they love less, but because they are listening to that silence within. Because they are wrestling with the echo of their own soul. And if a woman could hear it, she might realize, his solitude is not a wall. It is a well. A well from which his tenderness springs. A well from which his devotion is drawn. A well that reminds him that love is not possession, but presence. The rain falls heavier now. The fire bends low. And I think again of all the men I have known, men who gave everything to love, yet remain haunted by a loneliness no embrace could soothe. And I see now that loneliness is not something to be cured. It is something to be honored. For when a man learns to sit with his loneliness, not as an enemy but as a companion, his love becomes deeper. Not because he is complete, but because he accepts he is not. Not because the silence has ended, but because he no longer hides from it. And so, the paradox. A man's loneliness, even in love, is what allows him to love at all. Because he knows, at the deepest level, that nothing lasts, that all things pass, that every embrace is temporary. And it is precisely because of this truth that he holds tighter, listens longer, cherishes more fiercely. Loneliness is not the opposite of love. It is the shadow that gives love its shape. There is a quiet truth that waits at the end of all longing. A man can love with every breath in his chest, can give his life to another, and still, there will be a corner of his soul untouched, unspoken, unshared. This corner is not betrayal. It is not refusal. It is simply the final chamber of solitude, the one that belongs only to him. And in that chamber, he carries the loneliness that never leaves, not in youth, not in passion, not in age. It travels with him. It shapes him. It humbles him. At first, he fears it. He thinks it means he is broken, incomplete, unworthy of the love he receives. He tries to hide it from her, tries to bury it beneath laughter, beneath strength, beneath the performance of certainty. But time dissolves all disguises. And when the years grow heavy, when the body bends, when the nights stretch longer, the loneliness he once feared becomes the silence he can no longer escape. There is a curve most people never see. It is the curve where loneliness bends into acceptance, where the ache no longer feels like a wound, but like a reminder that to be alive is to walk alone, even while walking beside another. A reminder that to love does not mean to be dissolved, but to be accompanied. Listen closely. Loneliness does not end in love. It deepens it. Because when a man realizes that no woman, no matter how close, can rescue him from his solitude, he stops demanding rescue. And then, at last, he begins to love freely. Not as a plea for completion, but as an offering of presence. The rain outside has softened. It no longer pounds. It whispers. And the fire has burned low, no longer raging, but glowing, steady, enduring. So too does love change with this understanding. In youth it burns bright, wild, insistent, desperate to consume. But with age, with solitude acknowledged, it becomes something quieter. It glows, it endures, it warms without devouring. The loneliness men carry, even in love, becomes the ground on which forgiveness grows. Forgiveness for himself, for being fragile, for being uncertain, for being unable to be fully known. Forgiveness for her, for not being able to touch the unreachable, for not being able to silence the echo. And in this forgiveness, something shifts. Love is no longer a struggle against loneliness. It is a companionship alongside it. A man learns, slowly, that the soul is not meant to be fully seen, not meant to be fully shared. There are chambers in every human heart that remain closed, not out of cruelty, but out of necessity. For it is in those chambers that the mystery of existence breathes. And to carry that mystery, even into love, is not a failure, but a gift. Perhaps this is why so many men grow quieter with age. They no longer need to fight the silence. They no longer need to explain the solitude. They simply sit with it, by the fire, by the rain, by the long stretch of years. And in that sitting, there is peace. The woman beside him may never fully understand this loneliness. But she does not need to. For love is not the dissolving of solitude, but the meeting of two solitudes. Two souls, each carrying their silence, each walking their own path, choosing, for a time, to walk together. And so, the loneliness men carry, even in love, becomes not a barrier, but a bridge. Because in accepting it, they cease demanding to be healed, and begin offering presence instead. Presence that says, I am with you, even as I remain myself. Presence that says, I cannot escape my solitude, but I can share this fire, this rain, this night with you. The fire collapses into embers now. The rain thins into mist. And the man who once feared his loneliness sits without fear. It is with him, yes. It will always be with him. But it no longer haunts. It no longer wounds. It simply is. And in that quiet acceptance, he finds the secret gift of solitude. That it does not prevent love, but deepens it. That it does not end connection, but makes it more precious. That it does not isolate, but reminds him of the miracle that, even within loneliness, two souls can still choose to meet. The night grows silent. And within that silence, there is no longer fear. Only the steady truth. Men carry loneliness even in love. But it is not their curse. It is their song.